The purpose of this video is to show you a few tricks on the equation editor. So in Microsoft Office products. So let's take a look at that. Whoops, not that one. Here we go. So let's say we have a Word document here, and you're writing some text. All right, and then let's say you want to put in some equations. Maybe you want to call this voltage a V. So what you can do is you could do all of these steps. You could click Insert, click Equation, and then you could go into the equation design tools, and you could look for the delta symbol, and you could write the letter V. Whoops, come on. You could write the letter V, and then you could go back into here and you could highlight things. Oh my gosh, come on. Then you could hit a subscript and do all this stuff. You could say the volt, let's say it's V2 for some reason. Okay, and then I could hit the space bar and get out of there. Great. You could do all that, but watch how much easier this is. This voltage, I'm going to hit Alt equals. Now I'm going to use this slash capital D delta. Now I hit the space bar, capital V. Now I hit the underscore, then 2, then hit space bar. The idea here is needed, whatever. By hitting Alt equals, every time you hit Alt equals, it changes it to the equation editor. So let's look at some common things here. If you have nothing else on the line of text, it will actually even center it for you too. Alt equals, let's say we want to do V underscore final X. Now I'm going to hit spacebar, or I could even do, let's say we want to do the V final X squared, right? So just to see that again, V underscore final X, and then I'm going to hit squared like this, spacebar. Equals, let's say it's V initial X squared plus, let's say it's 2A sub X. Now, what if I do lowercase d for delta? Notice it gives you the wrong delta symbol. So that's how you get a lowercase delta. If I wanted an uppercase delta, and notice it will keep track of the italics for you. I want to point out something right here. Notice the letters in the subscripts are italicized, but the numbers are not. And so it's kind of keeping the standard notation, which is why I made that notation, just so anytime you use the equation editor, we're using those default things. Notice the superscripts, the numbers are not italicized there. All right, so let's keep going with this and see here. Let me get rid of that really quick. All right, so Alt equals is the command to get into there. Now, what if you need to do a trig function? Common thing, right? You could say equals, whoops, sorry. We'd say, again, Alt equals, and then I'd say, let's say tangent. Now, notice it doesn't recognize tangent yet, but if I hit the space bar, it recognizes that that's tangent. What if I want theta? So I do the slash theta, and there we go. And let's say that's equal to, maybe you want to do a square root. You could type in SQRT, and then we could do, I just type 1 over 2. Oh, whoops, maybe I want to get that in there. Let me start over again. Well, here, there's occasions where you might want to use this. So everyone, whoops. Sorry, I got Zoom going too. Let me move this out of here for a sec. Oh, come on, Zoom. All right, here we go. So sometimes maybe you do want to go into here. It's a little bit easier. So that'll put the whole thing in there. And then you could say it's D minus F or whatever. If you do parentheses around something, let's say it's 2 over D, and then you want the parentheses to be full size. I put the parentheses around it. When I hit spacebar, it'll rescale them. So you can make things look quite nice this way, and it takes a minimal amount of effort. Now, what if you have some numbers involved and you got to plug some stuff in? Well, let's just take this equation. You spent all this time writing it, and maybe you want to use it now. Maybe D was 3.33 meters. Now, if I just type 3.33 meters, notice the M is still italicized. That's confusing. Normally italicized things are variables. So you could, whoops, you could literally just, I'm pressing shift, holding shift, and then the left arrow, and I just hit Control I. That's one way to do it. Here's another cool thing you might like. Put quotes around the stuff that's going to be unitalicized. And when I hit the space bar, it takes the italics off. So those are a couple of ways to do that. If you're keeping track of sig figs, notice you could do all kinds of stuff in here with your sig figs. This is how I do the underbar for sig figs, say. What if you need a vector? Here's kind of a cool one. Let's say we make a new equation. Let's say alt equals, let's say a vec, right? When I do this and hit spacebar twice, it pops it up there. You could also do this, a, whoops, slash vec, and when I hit equals, it'll do this. And then you could say 3.44 meters in the I hat. Now I could hit space twice, or I could just hit plus 4.22 meters J hat. And I'm going to hit space twice, and there we go. And so this gives you just a brief idea of how to use the equation editor. Finally, if you're writing a report and you want to number the equations, this is a quick way to do it. Just to insert a table and make it 3 columns wide. You can come into here and you could resize these a little bit. Try to resize them approximately the same. And then you can put the number for the equation here. And then you can put the equation inside here. Taco equals salad slash times 10, whoops, 10 to the negative Chewbacca. Right? Maybe that's what it is. And then after you get that all done, you just highlight the table, go into table, design, I think, and you can get rid of the borders. You could also go in and click this to align everything to the center. And so now what you could see is if you go and print this out or go to print preview or make a PDF out of this, none of those little dotted lines will print out, and you'll have a nice, neatly organized equation that you can then reference the whole rest of the day. One last thing, when you're writing an equation, let's just make sure we make something clear. Let's say we want to say, it's important to also define the variables at their first introduction. So let's say you have the speed of a dropped ball is given by alt equals v equals slash square root of 2gh. Whoops, let me get some parens around that. 2gh. 2gh. There we go. Now, typically I would say, maybe I want to specify the speed up above. You don't have to do this style, but it tends to work out okay. Whoops. The speed v of a ball. So now notice I've explained that this symbol v is the speed. Down below it, whoops, let's get down below there, is given by this where, now watch out, when I hit spacebar, Word will auto capitalize this. So you got to go back in and just manually uncapitalize it, because this is still a continuation of the above sentence where G is, it's not gravity. Oh, whoops. That needs to be alt equals G. Now I hit the right arrow to get out of there, right arrow, where G is the magnitude of the acceleration, whoops, acceleration due to gravity in free fall. Oops. Near Earth's, oh my gosh, aren't you glad we say little g all the time? And alt equals h, whoops. Let me do that again just because it kind of got off screen there. And again, so, and alt equals h, right arrow key, h is the height from which the ball was dropped or something like that. Okay, whatever. And yeah, I'm not worried too much about present past tense right now. I'm just trying to show you how to write the equations. And notice after this, for the rest of my report, anytime I use the symbols G or H, I don't need to keep redefining them. Notice I do not say the units of G. Why? Because there's different possible units someone might use. Someone might want to use meters and seconds. Somebody else might want to use feet and seconds. And so it's up to them to choose the right units. If they want to plug in G in meters, then H would probably have meters as well. If they want to use G as feet per second squared, they'll probably want to use feet for height. But that's not your job to tell them that. That's their job to deal with it. Or in a later section where you include data, you can clarify what units are used in the data. So you don't talk about the units usually in here. All right, in a physics textbook, they might, just because they're trying to teach you at the same time. But when you're writing, you generally assume people can understand the units by saying, oh, it's an acceleration. Well, it relates to an acceleration. It'll have meters per second squared. All right, so I think that's pretty good. Let's leave that. That's how you can write equations and center them and number them and make them look nice. It's also how you can use the equation editor inline